How we doing, Patriot fam? Long time no see. I know I've been out of pocket for a while. Been a hot minute since we had a chance to sit down and chit chat. That's my fault. Been busy as a two-peckered billy goat at work here lately, and of course with the holidays and deer season and everything else on my plate, I just really haven't had time to sit down and shoot a video. But here we are today. We're going to do something a little different than coffee on the Grouch today, or coffee with the Grouch, because I'm drinking something other than coffee. Happy New Year. Hope everybody had a good Christmas, good Thanksgiving. I hope your New Year's better than your last year. Today I'm going to tell you a story. Something I don't often talk about. Something I don't really like talking about. And if you'll stick around to the end, there's a point to my story. It's the only reason I'm going to talk about it. Most of you know I spent a pretty good time in the Navy, serving on board submarines when I was quite a bit younger man. I'm not going to name any submarine names or give you any dates because some of that stuff is still classified. But we may or may not have been in a place that we may or may not have been allowed to be on deployment. We caught a Soviet Delta III coming out of the barn. Now, this was back in the Cold War before the Soviet Union broke up. Delta III is a Soviet missile submarine capable of launching ballistic missiles from underwater aimed at the United States at that point. Our job, once we got in trail, was to sink them. If we heard them getting ready to launch, before they could launch a missile, it was our job to put 125 of Soviet Union's best young men at the bottom of the sea. When you go to bed at night, after you got off watch, think about what you were doing, why you were there. If you were a conscientious, sane person, it'd bother you a little bit. But it was something that had to be done and something you did. I'm not whining about it. I'm not crying about what I had to do and what I might have had to do. But after we got back from that deployment, me and the wife and kid came back to Oklahoma for a couple of weeks for vacation. A couple of days after I got back, there were several of my friends that come over, old high school buddies, sitting around, drinking beer, talking, visiting, catching up. They invited me to go out with them that evening and play paintball. They had a paintball course set up out in the woods where you chose up teams and you fought against one another, play war. See who could capture the flag or capture the fort or whatever the hell it was. I politely turned them down, told them I wasn't really interested. I needed to visit with family, and didn't really give them a reason why. I didn't go into it. Didn't want to make them feel bad. Didn't think it was really of any of their business. The reason I turned them down, when you've been hunting men for real, and there's no other way of putting it, that's what we were doing when we were tracking that Delta III. We were hunting men. When you fired missiles in anger at targets and you knew people were going to die, which also got done during Desert storm. When you get home, the last thing you want to do is go play at war. My friends had never been in the military. And to them, it was just fun running around in the woods, shooting each other with paintball guns. Personally, I did not think that would be fun. It wasn't something I was interested in. Why don't I tell you the story? Well, over the last couple of months, I've been watching the news, been watching different videos, listening to the radio. We've got a war going on right now, a hot war in Ukraine. Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine's trying to fight to maintain their sovereignty. And to hear a lot of people, both on the right and the left, it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, seem to be looking forward to us getting in a hot war with Russia, or maybe even China. And I think that's a symptom of a larger issue. We've got a generation now, I call them the Xbox and PlayStation generation. And I'm not just talking about young men and women playing video games. I'm talking about young men and women who are in the service right now, who never have to look in the face of their enemy, never have to see or hear the result of their actions. They're launching Hellfire missiles from a drone while they're while they're sitting 1,000 miles away looking at things on TV screen. It's no different for them than playing Call of Duty. So there's no consequences. We've got technology now that allow us to have precision strikes on military-only targets. Now, I'm not saying that we should target civilians indiscriminately. But war is ugly. War is dirty. War is nasty. What is the whole purpose of a country's military? You can say, oh, well, it's to protect us from invasion. It's to project power. It's to help us implement foreign policy. No. That's all the political crap. I'm talking what is the real purpose of a military. Why does any country have a military? It's to kill people and break things. The Army or the Marines, Navy that kill more people and break things faster than the other guy is the one that wins. We knew that at one time. That's what we trained our war fighters to do. Be as efficient at killing people and breaking things as possible. But in order to do that, you had to get up close and personal. You saw the results of your actions. You smelled them. In the heat of battle, at times you could taste them. War is ugly. War is dirty. War is nasty. War is not supposed to happen. And it's supposed to be so ugly and so dirty and so nasty that countries will do everything, politicians and bureaucrats, statesmen will do everything to avoid it. But when you have a push-button war, there's no consequences. When you're only targeting valid military targets, well, the civilian population gets to carry on their day-to-day lives. There's no consequence to them. I'm not saying we should target them. They should be targeted purposefully. But if you've got a military target that's located in a population center, and they're using their own population as human shields, this grouchy old bastard's view, destroy it. You can hit it with pinpoint munitions. We don't have to carpet bomb it anymore. But if there's a few civilian casualties, collateral damage, that's war. And if the politicians don't like it, then they can work their asses off a little harder to prevent it. We've got to the point to where war is seen as an expedient political tool instead of something to be avoided. I don't know how to change it. I don't know what to do about it. But we need to elect people. We need to elect crusty old bastards like me and 10,000 others out there just like me who don't want to see war, who knows that it's supposed to be nasty and ugly and dirty, and would work and do everything to avoid it. Do I want to see a civil war in this country? No. There are times when there's no other choice. We're not there yet. Heaven forbid we ever get there. There are people like me and hundreds of thousands of others who would be willing to do the ugly and do the dirty and do the nasty to protect our way of life. But we need to have an administration who can see the writing on the wall, have a good foreign policy, strong foreign policy, so that we never have to. Peace through strength. Reagan had a point. You can't placate your enemies. You can't buy them off. You cannot deal with them and expect them to do the right thing just because you ask them to nicely. You cannot negotiate from a point of weakness. That's what losers do. Patton said it best. We're not losers. The United States never has been. Can't stand a loser. We're winners. When it gets to the point to where we have to send our war fighters in, you can't tie their hands. You can't burden them down with so many rules of engagement that it gives the enemy the advantage. Any fight worth fighting is a fight worth winning. And the faster you win it, the fewer casualties they are. And how do you win fast? You kill people and you break things faster than the other guy. You break their will to fight. And the way we are coddling our military today with all this woke crap and training war fighters. They're not ready for it. And that worries me. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your family. Write an email to your congressman, to your senator. Get this woke crap out of our military and get them back to being the war fighters they were 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Make other countries fear the fact that we can land Marines on their beach or there's an aircraft carrier off their shores. Or there's a B-2 stealth bomber. They can bring cruise missiles in anywhere in their country. They don't fear that. Because we've got an administration who's weak. But I'm sorry, folks, if this upsets some people, but you got to make war ugly. You got to make it nasty. You got to make it dirty. You got to make it so that nobody wants it. The last person that wants to go to war is the war fighter. The soldier, the sailor, the airman, the Marine, Space Force, Guardian, whatever the hell they're calling them now. But you got to have politicians that will give them the tools to do the job and make sure they're trained to do the job when called upon to do it. Why is PTSD on the rise in our military? Because we've coddled people for so long, they can't deal with the adversity of actual warfare. PTSD a real thing? Yes, it is. Terrible thing. I've got friends that suffer from it. But it's not their fault. It's the fault of administrations who put them in positions where they are at a disadvantage and don't give them the tools and the ability to win when they're there, and hamstring them with rules of engagement that make them nothing but targets. That's why we have a PTSD problem. Got a little preachy today, folks. I'm sorry. I apologize. Want to start this year off good. I hope you do too. And I will be having more videos. Hopefully we can get back on track. I'm glad to see y'all here. The ones that have supported me and everything, I really appreciate you. And I'll be back. I won't let it go near as long the next time, I promise. I promise. But as always, folks, let liberty's torch light your path, and Godspeed in all your endeavors. Thank you.